Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking about a very major potential blizzard here that we're going to be talking about over the next couple of days that's going to be going on later this week for the Midwest and areas in the plains, as well as some of the Rockies. Now, before I get started with this very exciting video, I'd like to ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Now, for today's question of the day, I want to know what is your favorite type of weather, and I will be picking whichever one I like the most and placing that at the end of tomorrow's video, so you could be featured in tomorrow's video. So make sure to comment down below. Now, let's get started with things here. We're going to be talking about our storm track map here, first things first, and this is for our major blizzard, and you can see it's going to be from the 18th through the 20th, so we're not very far out. This thing is happening very soon, so confidence has increased a lot very quickly, and we're pretty confident that we're going to have a blizzard of some sort. The snowfall totals, that's what could really change a bit, but we definitely know that somewhere within this blue area we're going to be dealing with a very major situation. We can see we're going to have a low pressure system over Utah that moves its way into Colorado, and it's really not going to be too strong until it makes its way over the Rockies, and then it's going to start to really intensify and then take kind of a northern turn through Nebraska and then up into the upper Midwest and then back up into Canada. Within this light blue area, we are expecting some snowfall for pretty much all the regions here. Now, we're about to add a layer, and that's going to be our blizzard layer, so stay tuned to see where that blizzard could be expected. It's going to be blizzard conditions throughout a pretty wide area here, so we're going to be talking about where you could expect to see that. So as you can see, we've added our deep blue blizzard region here, and I'm expecting I wouldn't say this entire area 100% sees blizzard conditions, but I do know that there will be blizzard warnings up for some regions, and this could trend south, this could trend north, but I do know that just to the north of the low pressure system is where we are going to be seeing these blizzard conditions. I think from Wyoming, that's going to be southeastern Wyoming mostly, and then northeastern Colorado, up through the northern half of Nebraska, the southern half of South Dakota, and then up through into a lot of Minnesota, and then very far northern Wisconsin. That's where I have that blizzard zone right now. Expect to see a lot of oranges, which is our blizzard warnings, up probably by time we're in the later portion of tomorrow, maybe even the earlier portion on the 18th. The storm isn't really going to get underway until very late on the 18th, so that's when I'm expecting to really see things come together. Now, we're going to get started with our simulated radar here and just take it hour by hour. You can see this is going to be about 2 p.m. on March 18th, which will be Wednesday, and we can see that we do have kind of broad low pressure over Utah and Colorado there. Not a lot of snow yet. If there is, it's for Utah and Arizona mostly. Let's move on, and this is going to be towards 2 a.m. on March 19th. So you can see at some point between late on the 18th and early on the 19th is when we really start to see this thing come together. And you can see that we do have moderate to heavy snow going on for Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico by this point. And that is also going to include a 997 millibar low pressure system in eastern Colorado, and that is our very strong low pressure system there associated with our major blizzard. Now, I'm about to move on, and we're going to move towards later in the day on Thursday, March 19th, and we're just going to continue to move through this entire storm's life. We will also be looking at some wind amounts here in a second just to back up my claim that this will be a major blizzard. All right, so as you can see here, we're going to be looking at about 2 p.m. on Thursday, March 19th, and we can see moderate to very heavy snowfall going on pretty much from Colorado up through a lot of portions of southern Wyoming, northern Nebraska, southern South Dakota, and the heavy snow hasn't really reached Minnesota yet, but on the very western edge of this storm, we are seeing a lot of that. As of right now, we're expecting a 991 millibar low pressure system. That could be lower or a bit higher. If it's lower, we expect a more major storm. If it's higher, we expect a little less of a major storm, but we are very confident that this will at least be a very heavy snowstorm with major winds, which would include blizzard conditions. Those two things coupled would be blizzard conditions. All right, so let's go ahead and move on and look at our wind for that same hour. So this is going to be, again, by about 2 p.m. on Thursday. And in the deeper blue colors, that's where we're only looking at about 12 to 20 knot winds. Sorry, this website, we can only get knots. A lot of people ask about, why do I use Celsius? Why do I use knots? It's not really a choice. It's really just what I have available to me. So I do apologize for that, but a quick Google search, you can find the conversion there if you were wondering what the conditions are going to be like where you're at. Green, we see 20 to 28 knot winds, and then in the yellows and oranges, which we see a bit of that for northern Colorado, a bit of western Nebraska, and even some of South Dakota. And those are the areas, again, which on that same hour are expecting very, very heavy snowfall. So obviously with the very heavy winds, we would see very heavy snowfall, and that equals blizzard conditions. In the yellows and oranges, we're expecting 30 to 40 knot winds, especially in the oranges. That's where we're at about 35 to 40 knot winds. That with very heavy snow is blizzard conditions. So we would definitely be looking at a blizzard by this point. The GFS, which is the model we're using right now, actually has the least winds out of any of the models. So this is pretty much a minimum that we're looking at as far as possibilities. I'll show you the GEM Canadian model in a second. Now, we're about to move up into the upper Midwest and start talking more about South Dakota, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. It's going to be very exciting to take a look at this next very eastern edge of the storm with you guys. All right, so here you can see this is going to be by about 8 p.m. on Thursday, March 19th. And we see that very heavy snow make its way into Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the upper peninsula of Michigan in some areas. But we definitely still have the heavier snow going on for South Dakota and Nebraska. A 995 millibar low pressure system by this point, and that's located over Kansas at this point, as you can see. Let's go ahead and move on. And this is going to be by about 2 a.m. on Friday, and you can see that a lot of the heavier snow has become more moderate, and our low pressure system is really broadened out, and it's only a 1002 millibar low pressure system by this point, so it's rapidly weakening. So we're seeing a much weaker low pressure system by this point and much lighter snowfall on this model. As we move towards about 8 a.m. on Friday, March 20th, we see that there is some snow lingering for Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the upper peninsula of Michigan, but it's only light to moderate by this point. We're likely seeing the snowfall come to an end by this point. And then by about 2 p.m. on Friday, March 20th, it pretty much has come to an end. Snowfall showers lingering, I would say, for Wisconsin and Michigan, but that's about it. And then you can see it's completely at an end by 8 p.m. on Friday, March 20th. All right, let's move on. And this is your Canadian model. And you can see for the upper Midwest, it has a much, much more major solution here. Heavy snow going on for Nebraska, South Dakota, and even Minnesota there with a 989 millibar low pressure system located in between Minnesota and Wisconsin. This would lead to a much more major solution. And let's take a look at that wind on this model, and you can see a lot more yellows and oranges widespread over the areas seeing major snowfall. This would surely be blizzard conditions throughout Nebraska, South Dakota, and Minnesota by this point. This would be a much more major solution, but both models have blizzard conditions at times, so we're quite confident that we will see blizzard conditions during this storm. Now we're about to move on and start talking about the total snowfall on the models. It's going to be very exciting to go over the GFS model, Canadian model, and our European model with you guys, and just take a look at what each of those models are showing. Now for our first total snowfall map, we're going to be looking at the GFS model because this is the model that we were looking at mostly throughout this video. We can see for areas in the Rockies, in the high elevations, we see a lot of those greens. That's where we're expecting a foot to 24 inches of snow. In the pink colors, that's where we're at about 6 to 12 inches of snow. And in the purples, it's 3 to 6 inches of snow. The purples are a very small shade, so it's kind of hard to pick those out. And then in the bluish colors, that's where we're at about a dusting to only 3 inches of snow. So it's mostly the pinks and the greens where we're going to be seeing major snowfall. And as of right now, the GFS model is thinking southeastern Wyoming and then up through north central. And I guess the very high elevation regions of the southern Rockies mostly are where this model is thinking the heaviest of the snow could occur. But there is some low elevation snowfall for Nebraska and South Dakota that it does show getting into the greens. So it is expecting heavier snow for more low elevation areas. Here's the GEM model, and again, it was much more major for the Midwest, and you could see that it does have greens up there for Minnesota and the upper peninsula of Michigan, as well as a little bit of northern Wisconsin as well. Very widespread area of 1 foot to 2 feet of snow, and also coupled with blizzard conditions, the Canadian would have a very, very major solution here. And then here, last but not least, is your European model, and this is the least major solution for the Midwest, but the most major for the Rockies. It has upwards of 24 to 48 inches of snow for some of the higher elevation areas. Very, very major snowfall for the Rockies. But again, the Midwest only expecting 6 to 12 inches of snow, kind of widespread for areas in the Midwest there. So a lot of differing opinions. Again, I'm probably gonna have to make at least a couple more videos for this storm in the next couple of days. So please stay tuned for that. Now for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, what was your favorite state outside of your home state? And I also said that if you picked my favorite state outside of my home state, I would select your comment. And yesterday, Ask said, I live in Rhode Island, and my favorite state outside of that is New Hampshire, which just so happens to be my favorite state as well. And also, they said, I love the snow, the mountains, and the river. And New Hampshire has a lot of all three of those things. I absolutely love New Hampshire. Let me know if you've ever been, or maybe you even live in New Hampshire, and let me know what you think. But I think it is a wonderful state. I absolutely love New Hampshire. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media, and I will see you guys in the next video.